What's happening, podcasters? My name's Sebastian Ross, and I help marketers and entrepreneurs just like you launch successful podcasts. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to know about getting people to be on your show as a guest. Interviews, guests on your show, special co-hosts, whatever the case may be, tracking people down that you want on your show isn't always the easiest task. I'm going to let you in on a few tricks that I've learned over the past years of being able to identify who an ideal guest is and how to get them on your show. Let's get started. All right, first of all, there's never been an easier time to reach out to someone and say, hey, you want to be on my podcast? Well, there's this little thing called Twitter and, well, the social media universe that allows us to waive having to ask for permission to reach out to individuals. No, we can avoid the gatekeeper and go right directly to the source. So I would first say, who's my ideal candidate to be on my show? Well, these are individuals that are smarter than you, cooler than you, richer than you, more successful than you, and have done far greater things than you have to date. You want to get in front of those people via your podcast episode and interview them. Pick their brain, if you will. But it's very strategic brain picking, if you will, and it's mutually beneficial. You get to pick their brain, they get more exposure about themselves and their brand. Seems like a win-win to me. So when identifying who should be on my show, make sure they're cooler than you. That's my number one bit of advice. Next thing, if you want to reach out to somebody and ask them to be on your podcast and you don't have their email address, I would recommend sending them a tweet, looking them up on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, all of the above. LinkedIn specifically will tell you about mutual connections, and so will Facebook. So if you're looking to get a hold of an individual and you get to their page and you can't directly message them, you can ask someone who's a mutual connection to maybe make a formal introduction to that individual and be able to go from there. Chances are, unless you're trying to get an A or B list celebrity, it's not going to be that difficult to get someone scheduled for your show. It's just a matter of making schedules work and what their availability is. Now, when conducting interviews, I don't recommend trying to identify a studio and make sure you have equipment in your backpack and go to the person or have the person come to you and all these logistics regarding scheduling. I would simply do the recording via Skype or Zoom. This day and age, very easy to do. You get one window with you in it, one window with the guest in it. You've got a video archive, the audio archive, so you're talking podcast, YouTube video, transcribed video into a blog post. So doing interviews, you never have to leave your office, and more importantly, you're going to have a better chance of getting people on your show if they don't actually have to go anywhere. If they can just click on a link, most phones have the Zoom app. If they can just click on a link and instantly be connected with you and begin a conversation, well, all you're simply doing is recording that video call or that conversation. So it's not a large production by any means at all. But social media should do the trick. It does take time to get the more important and the more popular your potential guest is, the longer it's going to take you to get them on your show. I've waited up to 3 or 4 months to get some A and B list celebrities and marketing profiles on the show in the past, but it's well worth the wait. Why? Well, it's credibility for you getting that individual on the show. And then the idea, hopefully, is to be able to get them to be able to share the interview with their network, in turn exposing your show. So finding people to interview, they're a dime a dozen out there, but you need to make sure they're cooler than you, smarter than you, richer than you, and doing cooler things than you before you approach them to get you on the show. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. What's the point of that? You want to learn from your guest, and you also want to leverage their network because they're going to tell their network that they were on your podcast. And how cool is that? Well, I hope I've cleared up a few things on how to get guests on your podcast and a few tricks I've learned over the past years of being able to identify and actually get people booked to interview on my podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This way you'll get nifty updates every time a new video becomes available about your podcast or your upcoming podcast or your podcast to be or your podcast one day. If you have any questions about podcasting or anything on this channel pertaining to podcasting, social media, digital storytelling, please leave a comment below on this video. I do respond to each and every one of you lovely people. It is my distinct pleasure. We'll see you next time.